Hey everybody, and welcome back to A Foodie's Guide to Fasting. Today I thought that we would have a more focused video pertaining to all things eating for your BMI. I will also be discussing realistic body expectations, weighing yourself, when not to weigh yourself, how to properly step down your calories, and also things that might hurt your progress along the way. So if you're ready to embark on this journey, then I suggest you grab a pencil, grab a paper, a pen, whatever's close to you, and we can get started. So studies pretty much say that the average man should be consuming anywhere between 2,000 to 3,000 calories a day, while the average woman should be consuming anywhere between 1,600 and 24 calories a day. The issue really lies in what is considered to be average. Of course, somebody who's got a specialized exercise program, they may be consuming a lot less calories, or someone who you know may be considering for or maybe training for like a fitness program or a bodybuilding program, they're going to consume way more and above that, 2,000 calorie, 3,000 calorie threshold potentially. So as I mentioned in the last video, one of the things that's important is for you to weigh yourself and to know where you sit, and also use the first couple of days while you're embarking on this program to see what you really consume. Some people like to just jump into OMAD or intermittent fasting, which is perfectly fine. Even if you're doing that, I would encourage you to take note of maybe the last couple of meals that you've had over the last 2 days, as far back as you can remember, and take a collective of all those calories, and that will give you an idea of what you're consuming on a daily basis. The important part about this process is this is something that you're doing for you. So there's no need to be obtuse or lie about maybe some of the things that you're consuming. I know when I first sat down, I had to be very realistic about the things that I was consuming and how much healthy food I was not really eating. I found myself to be consuming calories at a very inconsistent rate, and sometimes I would get up to that 3,000 calorie threshold just based on poor food choices I was making. So that's one of the first things that I would like for you to embark on is, what are you eating? How many calories are in the food that you're eating? Also, taking in consideration your height and your current weight. Are you towards the higher end of that spectrum as a man? Are you closer to consuming 3,000 calories? Are you towards that lower end of that spectrum as a woman? Are you closer to consuming, 1,600 calories a day? That's going to be something that is really going to feed into your progress. So you want to be aware of that before you start this program. Another thing that I mentioned in the last video is you need to get a scale. So getting a scale is something that's important. I don't want to jump too far ahead, so let's go ahead and talk about realistic body expectations. When I started out this program, I started out weighing 245. I was going to the gym every day and not really minding my caloric intake and wasn't really losing any weight. I was able to maintain, a nice looking structure on what I had, but the goal of weight loss was eluding me. It's okay when you first get started to have a goal or something that you want to look like. I wouldn't encourage you to marry yourself to a goal. I know on another video at some point I had seen a young lady talking about not purchasing clothes for when you hit a certain landmark, because the way that your body is going to be changing and shifting during this process, those clothes might not fit you when you get to said weight. I know I had some items hanging in my closet that I was like, oh, when I get down to 220 or when I get down to 215, I'm going to wear that. Sometimes it worked out for me, but more often than not, until I got a good bulk of the weight off, I went right past that size and wasn't able to wear that item. And sometimes that caused like a disappointment for me. So one of the things that I do encourage you to do is be realistic that your body is going to be changing. Weight might be coming off in areas that you don't want it to come off in. And as women, we all know that, you know, our breasts carry a large amount of fatty tissue. And so sometimes you're going to notice that the weight is coming off in your breast, or maybe your arms or your waist. As a man, you know, one of the first places that the weight may be coming off may be in your arms or in your stomach. It just really does depend on your body structure and how the weight's coming off. So of course, get to know your body. Be careful about being comparative. Again, this is your journey. So if you're going to the gym, or if you're out in your community, or you have that friend that you kind of hold in that esteem as being, you know, body goals, know that your journey may be different from theirs. There's a good possibility that you might come out on the other end looking better than them. So, you know, keep that in mind as you go forward. Have realistic body expectations. Have a healthy sense of self. Be kind to your body. The next thing that I want to talk about is properly stepping back your calories. I know for me, again, I want to put that out there. I got started on OMAD specifically and intermittent fasting due to a gentleman here on YouTube who's got a channel by the name of OMAD Revolution. Lots of great content, so I do suggest you go over there and check him out as well. But one of the things that you want to do, I was a little skeptical because I was like, how am I still going to be eating or fasting and not constantly eating fruits and vegetables and still be able to take weight off? So I gave myself a 2-week window to really hone down my diet and decide how I was going to be eating. If you're someone that has more time available to you, food prep is something that I definitely suggest. If you can make 4 days, 3-4 days worth of meals, a week worth of consistent meals of things that you like to eat, then I suggest that you go ahead and do that. Have meals frozen, have snacks available to you, have things that you know that when that window comes for you to eat, that you're going to have your caloric supply available to you to consume, so that you're not grappling, here and there, picking up something from the convenience store, doing things that put you out of proper preparation to be prepared for that day. I'm going to be completely honest with you. When I first started this, I was a mom on the go, and I work. And so one of the things that I did for my meal was, for the first 2 weeks, I consumed Chipotle. I ate Chipotle pretty much for the first 2 weeks as my one meal a day. In terms of stepping back my calories, what I did was I started out with a burrito. And sometimes a quesarito. If you don't know what that is, then But I would start out with a burrito or a quesarito. I would start out with a diet drink, or most of the time it was water. I'll get into that a little bit later. And then I started out with a large bag of chips. I knew that that was going to be the only meal that I was consuming for the day, so I wanted to make sure that I was really loading up the calories on things I needed to eat. That burrito did include meat. It included, beans. It included the rice. It included everything that I felt like I needed in order to satiate any hunger that I might experience later on in the day. The other thing, one of the things that I did in relation to eating Chipotle every day is I gave myself 4 hours to consume that meal. In the beginning, you'll find that because you are making a conscious effort to consume a certain amount of food, you'll need time to consume it, or you'll potentially end up hurting yourself or not feeling the way that you want to feel when you're consuming such a high caloric amount in a small amount of time. And that's specifically for people who are doing OMAD. I will say, if you find that you need more time to consume calories, OMAD worked for me because I wanted to consume those calories and be done with it. Like I said in my previous video, I did have some fasting experience, and so I knew that after those calories were consumed, I wasn't going to be eating for the rest of the day unless it was something very light, or if it was something to maybe curtail that hunger, which I didn't do very often. So I would give myself 4 hours, specifically between 11 and 2 o'clock p.m. to consume those calories. I am a lunch faster. So I did that for about 2 weeks. And after the first 2 weeks of my body acclimating, let me go back a little bit. I found that amount of food was too much for me. And so I would say at about the second day of trying to consume the same meal, I decided to get a bowl instead with all the same ingredients. I got a tortilla on the side sometimes, and then I still got a chip or a bag of chips. And that still brought me in somewhere around 1,500 calories, I believe. And I felt good about the amount of food that I was eating, and also I didn't feel that uncomfortableness from just consuming too much food. And so for the following 2 weeks, that's what I did. I consumed Chipotle. I consumed, that burrito bowl. I consumed those chips. And I think after the first 2 weeks of weighing myself, I had consecutively lost about 2 pounds. As you know, when you're doing other diets, especially, I don't want to refer to them as crash diets, but when you are doing a diet that's designed to have you lose weight at a high volume, you'll see the weight come off fast. What I've noticed with OMAD and with intermittent fasting is the weight that you lose is fat. You're not losing, specifically water weight. So at first I was a little disappointed that I had only lost 2 pounds in that 2 weeks, but it told me something. I needed to decrease or increase my calorie deficit, a little bit more, and also, that I was going to have to be disciplined about what it was I was doing in consuming those calories. And so you do need to know that it's going to take a while to tweak it. So for the next 2 weeks, I continued to consume Chipotle, but instead of consuming a burrito bowl and a large bag of chips, I would allow myself to have that burrito bowl and a small bag of chips. And that became my caloric value for the day. So within that first month, I lost altogether 6 pounds. It didn't seem like a lot to me. It didn't even really seem like a lot of weight or that it was necessarily worth it. But at that point, after that 4 weeks, I was allowed to have a cheat day, which we'll get to a little bit later. But that 6 pounds, I didn't gain it back, within that month. And not only that, one of the bargaining things for me was I was eating something I enjoyed. I didn't get to the end of that month and realize I had only lost 6 pounds eating bacon or eating eggs only, or eating beef jerky and an egg and a slice of tomato. I was eating Chipotle. And every now and then, just for the sake of transparency, drinking a diet soda, drinking a tea. So yeah, it was nice it was beneficial for me to look at it that way. It's like I took off 6 pounds, even though at the time I didn't know I was going to gain it back and retain it. I realized that I took off 6 pounds eating something that I wanted to eat that tasted good to me. So one of the things that I want to talk about may hinder your progress is just that. When you embark on this journey, know that this is a lifestyle change. This is not something that you're going to do for a couple of weeks or even for a couple of months. And, you know, just like with any other thing, the weight is just not going to magically stay gone forever. This is a lifestyle change, but dare I say, it's a doable lifestyle change. I knew at some point I would be in maintenance. I knew at some point, I just knew at some point the weight would be gone and I would have to find a way to go forward. But this way of living, this way of thinking about food really does afford you the opportunity to know that it's okay to consume the things that you want and the things that you need. And it really does give life to this notion of people saying everything in moderation. So one of the things that may hinder your progress is your mindset. Know that this is going to be a lifestyle change. You don't always have to accept it. There's going to be days when you don't want to be disciplined and eat that way. But I would, of course, suggest that you just keep on going. Another thing that you may be surprised, and I'll talk about in a little bit, in some videos a little bit later on, is excessive exercise will hinder your progress on this program. I am a person that likes to walk. I'm a person that likes to run. I like to work out. I like to exercise. I like to lift a little bit of weights. You know, that's something he talks about in quite detail on the OMAD Revolution. But if you're a gym person, so to speak, while you're in the very beginning of this program, I don't even want to call it a program. If you're in the very beginning of this lifestyle change, then I would suggest that for the first month and a half, that you keep your exercise either very minimal or non-existent. It sounds crazy. It's something that I struggled with in the beginning, but it turned out to be true. You don't want to exercise that much because what you're doing essentially is putting your body into a caloric deficit. And so when you start working out too much, it goes into hyperdrive looking for more calories to burn. And sometimes because you're consuming less calories, it will come to a halt in terms of pulling from your fat stores at a moderate rate. Your body will go into a mode where it's like, I'm being starved. And so it will start to hoard and hold on to any of the calories you consume. So be mindful. Be mindful about the exercise that you're doing. If you have to do some kind of exercise, get out and walk. If you're a weightlifter, get your weights down very low to maintain your muscle mass. 2-pound weights, 5-pound weights, 8-pound weights. Just something to maintain it, but not to necessarily increase it or bulk. That's something that will hinder your process. You need to watch out for family and friends who are skeptical about your diet plan and what you're doing. I kept my journey very private because I didn't want anyone telling me that I couldn't do it. As you know, people get comfortable with you being uncomfortable. And so, that's one thing too, being competitive and comparative, like I said, with your peers around you. It's okay to keep those things private and know that this is something that you're working on for yourself. I also talk about this in later videos, but if you just can't avoid and meal prep is not an option for you, or you have a very active social life, one of the things that will help you is to look at the menu ahead of time. If you're going out with friends and you're going to a restaurant, check out your options before you go, so that you're not there scanning the menu trying to figure it out when you get there and when possible. That's something that will be a huge help to you. I'm trying to think if there's anything else I haven't covered for this video. So yeah, know that when you're stepping back your calories, there's going to be a trial and error period. The more aggressive you are with it, the better it is. Again, I'm not a medical professional. This is just something that I did. That's a disclaimer that really belongs at the beginning of the video, but you'll hear me say it now and you'll hear me say it again. I am not a medical professional. This is something that I did that was successful for me. However, when you are stepping down your calories, there's going to be a trial and error period there. I would not advise that you go extremely low in stepping down your calories. If you know that you were consuming 2,000 calories a day, don't drop your calories to 800. Another thing that could be hurtful to you is, say you drop your calories to 800, yeah, you will see, you will potentially see a large amount of weight loss early on. But the problem with that is, when you do finally lose that weight and you go into maintenance, you will not be able to get your calorie deficit or your caloric intake amount back up to a place to where you'll potentially feel satiated. And your body does get trained and it learns. Now that I'm smaller, I, sometimes step down to a lower caloric deficit when I want to increase my weight loss. But as soon as I'm back in maintenance, I'll step it right back up. You don't want to get to the end of your journey and find that you can only consume 600 calories a day, because your stomach has shrank to that size to where that will, to where that's the only thing it'll intake. So be careful about stepping down your calories and give yourself enough time to see if the scale is going to move. Also, in the beginning, I would suggest you weigh yourself once a week. It's not always realistic, but I, after the first 2 weeks, picked the same day every week to weigh myself. And that was with discipline and me consuming the same amount of calories every day. And there wasn't a time that I got on the scale and I didn't see, some kind of weight loss. Weigh yourself at the same time every day. I do think that when you weigh yourself more than once a week, or, too often, like every day, it's going to be hard for you to see the progress because your body will fluctuate. That's all the information I have for you guys today. If you have questions, please like and subscribe. There's going to be more videos to come, and ask me questions in the comments below and I will get back to you. All right? Thank you. I'll see you guys soon, okay?